It happens the same way every night. The lights go off. The room goes quiet. Every distraction you have been using all day disappears. And your brain, which has been waiting patiently for exactly this moment, starts talking. Not about small things. About the email you sent 3 weeks ago that might have been misread. About the conversation you had in 2019 that you handled badly. About everything you need to do tomorrow, and the day after, and the week after that. About the thing you said to someone in 2014 that you still cannot believe came out of your mouth. The bed, which should be a place of rest, becomes a courtroom, and you are always on trial. This is not insomnia. This is not a sleep disorder. This is your brain doing exactly what it evolved to do, in exactly the wrong environment. Here is the real reason you cannot stop thinking at night. Your brain runs on a system of competing networks. During the day, when you are focused on tasks, working, driving, talking, scrolling, your brain's task-positive network is active. It is engaged with the external world. It keeps the internal chatter suppressed. But the moment external demands disappear, a different network takes over. The default mode network. The same system that generates creativity and daydreaming also generates self-referential thought. It asks, how am I doing? What did I do wrong? What could go wrong next? It is the brain turning its attention inward. And it does this most powerfully in the one moment of your day when external input drops to zero. The moment the lights go off. Neuroscientist Marcus Reichel at Washington University first mapped the default mode network in the early 2000s. What he found was counterintuitive. The brain is not less active when you are doing nothing. It is more active. Specific regions: the medial prefrontal cortex, the posterior cingulate cortex, the angular gyrus, light up intensely the moment you stop focusing on an external task. The brain does not rest when you rest. It switches to a different kind of work. And that work, in the dark and quiet of your bedroom, tends to spiral. But why does it spiral toward anxiety rather than peace? Why does the default mode network, given total freedom, so reliably choose rumination over daydreaming? The answer goes back 300,000 years. Your ancestors did not have the luxury of safe nights. Darkness was the most dangerous time. Predators that could see in the dark. Strangers approaching from outside the firelight. The unknown that lived in every shadow. For most of human history, nighttime was when threats materialized. And so your brain learned, over hundreds of thousands of years of evolution, to treat the arrival of darkness and quiet as a signal to increase vigilance, to review the day for mistakes, to rehearse tomorrow's dangers, to run through every social interaction and check for signs that your standing in the group had been damaged. Because in the ancestral environment, a damaged social reputation could mean exile, and exile meant death. What you experience as nighttime overthinking is not your brain malfunctioning. It is your brain running a 300,000-year-old security review. The darkness triggers it. The silence enables it. And your modern bedroom, stripped of the campfire and the group and the sensory richness of the ancestral night, gives it nothing to interrupt it. Psychologist Guy Goodwin, former president of the European College of Neuropsychopharmacology, has described the ruminating mind as a system caught in a loop. Not because the loop is useful, but because the brain cannot find an exit. The original function of this review process was to reach conclusions, to identify the threat, make a plan, and settle. But modern anxieties, relationship tensions, career uncertainty, financial pressure, social comparison are rarely resolvable in a single night. So the loop runs without resolution. The brain keeps searching for an answer that is not available. And in the absence of a conclusion, it circles back to the beginning and starts again. This is why the thoughts that visit you at night feel so much more intense than the same thoughts during the day. It is not that the thoughts are different. It is that the brain's threat detection system is running at higher sensitivity after dark. The amygdala, your brain's alarm system, is more reactive at night. The prefrontal cortex, which normally moderates the amygdala's responses, is beginning to power down in preparation for sleep. You are left with a brain that is increasingly good at detecting threats and increasingly bad at talking itself out of them. Every worry feels more real. Every fear feels more plausible. Every mistake feels more significant. Matthew Walker, neuroscientist and sleep researcher at UC Berkeley, describes this as a form of emotional amplification. The tired brain exaggerates the negative valence of memories and anticipations. It strips context, removes nuance, and presents every concern at its most alarming. The late-night version of a problem is almost never an accurate representation of how serious that problem actually is. But your brain, running on diminishing prefrontal resources and heightened amygdala reactivity, cannot tell the difference. And here is what makes it worse. The harder you try to stop thinking, the more you think. This is not a personal failure. It is a well-documented psychological phenomenon called ironic process theory, first described by psychologist Daniel Wegner at Harvard. When you instruct yourself not to think about something, the brain must first generate a representation of that thing in order to monitor whether you are thinking about it. The act of suppression creates the very thought it is trying to suppress. Telling yourself to stop thinking about the email you sent keeps the email active. Telling yourself to relax makes you less relaxed. The direct approach to stopping nighttime thought almost always backfires. So what does the research actually say works? The first and most counterintuitive answer is, write it down. Not to process it, not to solve it, just to transfer it out of your head and onto paper. Psychologist Michael Scullin at Baylor University ran a study in which participants who spent 5 minutes writing a to-do list before bed, specifically a list of future tasks rather than a reflection on the day, fell asleep significantly faster than those who did not. The act of writing creates what researchers call an offloading effect. The brain, reassured that the information has been captured and will not be lost, releases its grip on it. The loop does not need to run if the brain believes the information is stored safely elsewhere. The second approach is what cognitive behavioral therapists call scheduled worry time. Rather than attempting to suppress anxious thoughts throughout the day, which, as Wegner showed, only amplifies them, you designate a specific window earlier in the day, 15 to 30 minutes, in which you deliberately think through your worries. You give the security review its allotted time. When the thoughts arrive at night, you have a genuine response. This has already been processed. It is scheduled. It does not need to run now. The third approach is the one your ancestors actually used without knowing it. Before there were bedrooms and electric lights, the transition to sleep happened communally, by the fire, with voices nearby, with the ambient sounds of the natural world providing a constant low-level sensory input that kept the default mode network from spiraling into pure self-referential anxiety. The modern equivalent is not screens. Screens activate the task-positive network and delay melatonin. The modern equivalent is audio, spoken word at low volume, rain sounds, the murmur of a voice, something that gives the default mode network a gentle external anchor without demanding focused attention, not silence, which leaves the mind nowhere to go but inward, not stimulation, which delays sleep, something in between. The same sensory hum that surrounded your ancestors as they drifted off beside the fire. Your brain is not broken. It is not weak. It is not failing you when it starts its nightly review. It is doing what a brain shaped by 300,000 years of dangerous nights was built to do. It is checking. It is scanning. It is running the security protocol that kept your ancestors alive long enough to become your ancestors. The problem is not the brain. The problem is the environment. A silent, dark, isolated room is the worst possible setting for a threat detection system that evolved to be triggered by exactly those conditions. You have built the perfect activation chamber for your oldest anxiety. Understanding that does not fix it instantly, but it changes the relationship. When the thoughts start tonight, and they will start, you will know what they are. You will know they are not prophecy. They are not insight. They are a 300,000-year-old security system doing its job in a world it was never built to understand. And sometimes, just knowing that is enough to let the loop slow down.